So we've got our brace breath, we've got our setup. Now some cues you can use throughout every stage of the deadlift to make sure you're executing them as well as you can. Obviously, all going to be predetermined on that tightness that we created, but these are some things that you can think about as you move through, especially when you're practicing with lighter loads in your warm-ups. Once it gets heavy, you just get tired and you pull and hope for the best. But if you're in a good position, it all should come through, and if you've practiced these cues throughout. So starting with this off the floor position, once we've created that external rotation, all we're really thinking here is pressing through the floor. So we're gonna leg press off the floor. As we get to about mid-shin, that thought process from pressing down through the feet starts to change into hips to the bar. So from about now, Jess is thinking hips through. And then one last cue at the top that is counterintuitive to what most people think is actually chest down or ribs down. A lot of people will cue chest up, which just causes absolute havoc at the top of the deadlift. So instead we want to have chest down, helps us keep our lats engaged, helps us extend through our hips and really lock out that deadlift nice and strong with as much musculature supporting this trunk, which is the high risk area, as much as we possibly can, and makes for a much smoother lockout. You won't miss in those top thirds of the lift anymore. Make things much easier whether you're learning or you're looking for that top end strength. So we're gonna go through it at speed now. We'll do 2 or 3 reps just to show you guys where and how we'd be thinking about these cues. So we're coming down, we've got big brace breath, fight and tightness. We leg press off the floor, we hip drive, and we keep that chest down. So it's leg press, hips, chest. Really straightforward. Leg press, hips, chest. Compared to something like the squat or the bench press, where we have lots of different cues at lots of different stages, those 3 are actually really, really simple. Obviously, the complexity starts with finding that tightness in that bottom position, which is a little bit more challenging than those other 2 lifts. For the sumo, slightly different. So the brace breath that we did is exactly the same. All of that works the same way, but for the sumo, cues are essentially the same. They just look visually different. So we're still thinking about leg pressing, and then we are going to pull our hips through, and we are going to keep that chest down at lockout. Just visually, it looks a little bit different. The other thing that comes into the sumo a lot more is really focusing on just driving those knees out. So again, twisting the quads, probably use that as a cue as we go into the leg press, where we're turning the thighs apart as we go into that hip extension. We don't tend to need to think about that as much when we're doing the conventional lift.